The Haunting of Alcatraz Island. Once upon a time, on a desolate island, surrounded by the unforgiving waters of the San Francisco Bay, there stood a menacing structure known as Alcatraz. Its name alone sent shivers down the spines of those who knew its haunted history. Alcatraz Island was notorious for its role as a federal penitentiary that housed some of the most dangerous criminals in the United States. But long before it became a prison, the island was steeped in dark and mysterious tales. Legend had it that the Native Americans who once inhabited the region considered Alcatraz to be cursed. They believed that the malevolent spirits roamed its shores, guarding hidden secrets and exacting revenge on those who dared to set foot upon it. Despite the eerie warnings and ominous signs, Alcatraz was eventually claimed by the U.S. government in the mid-19th century and turned into a military fortress, a decision that would prove to be a fateful one. As the island's reputation grew, so did the stories of inexplicable occurrences. Soldiers stationed on Alcatraz spoke of strange apparitions and haunting wails that echoed through the night. Whispers of ghostly figures gliding through the shadows filled the barracks, leaving the soldiers in a perpetual state of fear and unease. Many claimed that the vengeful spirits of the Native Americans had returned to reclaim their sacred land. Then, in 1934, the foreboding island was transformed into the notorious prison it is remembered as today. The cold, damp cells became home to some of the country's most dangerous criminals, and the island's haunting atmosphere only intensified. Inmates and guards alike reported ghostly encounters, adding to the macabre allure of the prison. One of the most infamous tales involved an inmate named Robert Stroud, better known as the Birdman of Alcatraz. Stroud was known for his violent behavior and was feared by both inmates and staff. Legend had it that during his time on the island, Stroud became obsessed with the occult, delving into dark rituals and attempting to communicate with the spirits that haunted Alcatraz. Some claimed to have witnessed Stroud speaking to invisible entities, and others said they heard chilling chants emanating from his cell late at night. Over the years, more eerie stories emerged from Alcatraz. Some spoke of ghostly footsteps echoing through the deserted cell blocks, while others told of disembodied voices whispering in the shadows. The prison's infirmary was said to be a hotspot for paranormal activity, with sightings of ghostly nurses tending to invisible patients and cries of pain from specters reliving their tormented pasts. One particularly chilling tale involved a former guard named Martin McKinney. McKinney had served during the prison's operational years and had seen his share of disturbing events. He recounted an incident when he was making his rounds late one night and heard a faint, mournful sobbing coming from cell 14D. When he approached the cell, he saw a translucent figure of a man huddled in the corner. The figure looked up at him with hollow eyes before vanishing into thin air. McKinney believed he had encountered the ghost of an inmate who had died in that very cell years before. As the years passed, the prison's notoriety grew. So did the tales of its haunted past. Paranormal investigators, thrill seekers, and skeptics alike flocked to the island to experience the chilling atmosphere for themselves. Some claimed to capture the sounds of ghostly moans and distant whispers on their recording devices, while others reported seeing full-bodied apparitions lurking in the darkness. In 1963, Alcatraz closed its prison doors for good, leaving behind a legacy of suffering and despair. The island was later turned into a national park, welcoming tourists who were eager to explore its grim history. Yet even as the island was repurposed, the stories of haunting encounters persisted. Park rangers spoke of inexplicable events and sightings, keeping the legends of Alcatraz's haunted past alive. Whether it was the vengeful spirits of the Native Americans or the tormented souls of the prison's former inhabitants, one thing was certain: Alcatraz Island held secrets that defied explanation and continued to draw people into its enigmatic embrace. To this day, the tales of Alcatraz's haunting history serve as a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks in the shadows of the human experience, a darkness that refuses to be forgotten or silenced. Eastern State Penitentiary, located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, is one of the most famous and allegedly haunted prisons in the United States. Its eerie history and the stories of paranormal activity have made it a popular destination for ghost hunters and tourists alike. Here is a glimpse into its haunted past. Established in 1829, Eastern State Penitentiary was one of the first penitentiaries in the world. It was designed to implement the Philadelphia system, a revolutionary approach to incarceration at the time. The system aimed to rehabilitate prisoners through solitary confinement and reflection. Believing that isolation would lead them to penitence, hence the name penitentiary, each inmate had a private cell which was intended to prevent them from corrupting one another. The harsh conditions of solitary confinement and the strict discipline subjected upon the prisoners led to many mental breakdowns. Several inmates suffered from severe psychological trauma, and some even died within their cells. It is believed that the anguish and suffering endured by these prisoners have left an imprint on the building, contributing to the alleged hauntings. Over its operational years, Eastern State Penitentiary housed some infamous criminals, including bank robber Willie Sutton and gangster Al Capone. The spirits of these notorious inmates are said to still roam in the corridors. One of the most commonly reported paranormal phenomena is that of a dark humanoid figure often referred to as the Shadow. Witnesses claim to see this ominous entity lurking in various areas of the prison, disappearing as soon as it is noticed. Cell Block 12 is known for its intense paranormal activity. Visitors and staff have reported hearing disembodied voices, whispering, and eerie laughter emanating from the cells. Even some claim to have been touched or pushed by unseen hands. People have reported seeing ghostly faces peering out from the cell windows, especially in the early morning hours when the prison is relatively quiet. Many visitors have heard unexplained footsteps, clanging of cell doors, and strange banging noises throughout the prison, even though it has been closed to inmates since 1971. Numerous paranormal investigators, psychics, and mediums have visited Eastern State Penitentiary to explore its haunted reputation further. Some claim to have captured ghostly apparitions and recorded eerie voices during their investigations. In recent years, Eastern State Penitentiary has embraced its haunted reputation and hosts a popular Halloween haunted house attraction. This event draws thousands of visitors, many of whom hope to encounter paranormal activity themselves. The Gettysburg Battlefield is known for its chilling and haunted history, stemming from the significant and deadly events that occurred during the Battle of Gettysburg in July 1863 during the American Civil War. This battle was a turning point in the war and resulted in the loss of thousands of lives on both sides. The immense suffering and tragic deaths have left an enduring mark on the land, and many believe that the spirits of the fallen soldiers continue to linger there to this day. Here are some of the eerie and ghostly tales associated with the Gettysburg Battlefield. The Devil's Den. This rocky and rugged area saw intense fighting during the battle, and it is believed that the spirits of soldiers who fell there still haunt the place. Visitors have reported hearing phantom gunshots, battle cries, and the apparitions of soldiers moving across the rocks. The area known as the Triangular Field is haunted by spirits of fallen Confederate soldiers. It is said that the moans and cries of the wounded can still be heard on quiet nights, and some have claimed to see ghostly figures dressed in tattered uniforms roaming the field. One of the bloodiest areas of the battlefield, the haunted wheat field, is said to be haunted by ghosts of soldiers who died there. Visitors have reported seeing ghostly apparitions rising from the ground and strange lights hovering over the field. Some witnesses have reported seeing ghostly cavalry units riding through the battlefield, reenacting their doomed charges from the past. The sounds of galloping hooves and clinking sabers have been heard by many. The tragic aftermath of the battle led to many orphans being left behind. It is believed that the spirits of these children still haunt the area around the former orphanage, and and some visitors have reported hearing the sounds of children laughing and playing. A famous ghostly figure at Gettysburg is the Lady in White. This apparition is often seen walking along the battlefield or near the triangular field, and some believe she is searching for her lost love, a soldier who died during the battle. The Farnsworth House, which served as a field hospital during the battle, is believed to be haunted by the spirits of soldiers who died there. Visitors and staff have reported hearing disembodied voices, footsteps, and seeing objects move on their own. As with many locations, we are left in awe of the haunted history that permeates the Gettysburg Battlefield. The spirits of the fallen soldiers continue to linger, reminding us of the sacrifices made during one of the nation's darkest times. The Lalori Mansion, also known as the Lalori House, is a historic residence located in the French Quarter of New Orleans, Louisiana. The mansion is infamous for its dark and haunted history, which revolves around the notorious Delphine Lalori, a prominent socialite in the early 19th century. Delphine Lalori was born in 1787 in New Orleans and married 3 times during her life. Her third husband, Dr. Louis Lalori, was a wealthy physician, which enabled the couple to live in the elegant mansion at 1140 Royal Street. On the surface, Delphine appeared to be a respected member of the community and known for hosting extravagant parties. However, behind the facade of wealth and charm, she concealed a dark secret. There were rumors circulating in the city about her cruel treatment of her slaves, but it wasn't until April 10, 1834, that the horrifying truth was exposed. A fire broke out in the mansion, and when the authorities arrived to extinguish it, they discovered several enslaved individuals chained up and malnourished. According to accounts from eyewitnesses, the slaves showed signs of severe abuse and torture. It's said that some were found with body parts mutilated, limbs broken, and confined to small cages. The discovery shocked the city, and a mob of angry citizens descended upon the mansion, demanding justice for the victims. However, the Laloris had already fled the scene, reportedly escaping to Paris, France, to avoid prosecution. The mansion was left abandoned and earned a reputation as one of the most haunted places in New Orleans. Over the years, numerous reports of paranormal activity have been linked to the mansion. Locals and visitors claim to have witnessed apparitions, heard screams and moans, and experienced strange phenomena within its walls. Ghost tours and paranormal investigators frequently visit the site to explore its haunted past. Due to its chilling history, the Lalori Mansion has become a popular subject in books, movies, and TV shows, contributing to its status as one of the most haunted and infamous locations in New Orleans. It stands as a reminder of the horrors that occurred behind closed doors during a dark period in American history. The Moon River Brewing Company in Savannah, Georgia, is known for its haunted history and has gained a reputation as one of the most haunted places in the city. The building itself has a long and storied past, contributing to the tales of paranormal activity that surround it. The Moon River Brewing Company is housed in a historic building that dates back to 1821. It was originally constructed as the City Hotel, which was one of the earliest hotels in Savannah. The hotel was a popular gathering place for locals and travelers alike, but it also saw its fair share of tragedy and violence over the years. One of the most well-known ghost stories associated with the Moon River Brewing Company revolves around a man named Toby. According to legend, Toby was a former employee of the hotel during the 1800s who met a tragic end. He was either a bartender or vagrant seeking shelter in the building when he was brutally murdered. It is said that his spirit still lingers in the brewery, and many visitors and staff claim to have encountered his ghostly presence. Some have reported hearing disembodied footsteps, seeing objects move on their own, and feeling an eerie presence in certain areas of the building. Apart from Toby's ghosts, other spirits are believed to haunt the Moon River Brewing Company. Some accounts mention the presence of a ghostly woman who roams the upper floors of the building, perhaps a former guest or employee of the hotel. Additionally, the basement is said to be a hot spot for paranormal activity, with reports of shadowy figures, strange sounds, and feelings of unease. Over the years, paranormal investigators and ghost enthusiasts have visited Moon River Brewing Company to experience and document the reported hauntings. The building's haunted reputation has also made it a popular spot for ghost tours in Savannah. The Salem Witch Memorial, located in Salem, Massachusetts, is a somber and haunting tribute to the tragic events that took place during the Salem witch trials in 1692. The memorial serves as a poignant reminder of the hysteria, fear, and injustice that led to the wrongful execution of numerous innocent people accused of practicing witchcraft. The Salem witch trials were a series of hearings and prosecutions that occurred in colonial Massachusetts. Between February 1692 and May 1693, over 200 people were accused of witchcraft, and 20 of them were executed, mostly by hanging. The accused were predominantly women, but men were also among the victims. The hysteria began when several young girls in Salem Village, Massachusetts, exhibited strange behaviors and claimed to be possessed by witches. As accusations spread, a special court was established to hear the cases of those accused of practicing witchcraft. The trials were conducted under dubious legal practices and relied heavily on spectral evidence and forced confessions extracted through harsh interrogation methods. As the trials progressed, the fear and paranoia escalated, leading to the execution of many innocent people. These trials are often seen as a dark chapter in American history, characterized by mass hysteria, religious extremism, and an abuse of power by the court. The Salem Witch Memorial, which opened in 1992, commemorates the victims of these trials. It consists of a series of 20 granite benches arranged in a semicircle, each bearing the name of an individual who was executed during the witch trials. The memorial's design evokes a sense of solemnity and reflection, allowing visitors to pay their respects and contemplate the devastating impact of the witch trials on the lives of those accused and their families. People from all over the world visit the Salem Witch Memorial to honor the memory of those who lost their lives during the witch trials and to remind themselves of the importance of tolerance, justice, and the preservation of individual rights. Though the memorial stands as a reminder of a dark and tragic past, it also serves as a symbol of the ongoing struggle against fear, prejudice, and the dangers of unchecked mass hysteria. It is an important historical site that encourages visitors to reflect upon the consequences of irrationality and the importance of safeguarding the principles of fairness and due process in any society. The Birdcage Theater, located in Tombstone, Arizona, is a historic landmark with a reputation for being one of the most haunted places in the United States. Built in 1881, the Birdcage Theater served as a saloon, gambling hall, theater, and brothel during the Wild West era. It quickly gained a notorious reputation for its rowdy and lawless atmosphere. The building's haunted history is attributed to its violent past and the tragic events that took place within its walls. Over the years, many stories of paranormal activity have emerged, and visitors and employees alike have reported experiencing eerie encounters and unexplained phenomena. Numerous witnesses claim to have seen full-bodied apparitions of cowboys, gamblers, prostitutes, and other characters from the Wild West era wandering through the building. These spirits are often described as appearing lifelike and indistinguishable from living people. Visitors have reported hearing sounds of laughter, shouting, and music, as if the raucous parties of the past are still taking place within the theater. The ghostly echoes of the past reportedly reverberate through the walls. Several accounts tell of objects being moved or thrown by unseen hands. Glasses and bottles have allegedly slid across tables or fallen without any apparent explanation. Many people claim to have heard mysterious voices, whispers, and conversations coming from empty rooms or corners of the theater. Unexplained drops in temperature have been reported in certain areas of the building, often associated with the presence of supernatural entities. Some visitors have reported seeing ghostly reflections in the mirrors of the Birdcage Theater, only to turn around and find no one behind them. Dark, shadowy figures have been spotted moving throughout the theater, sometimes darting quickly from one side to another. These haunted tales are often linked to the violent and turbulent past of the Birdcage Theater. The establishment witnessed numerous gunfights, stabbings, and deaths, as it was a hotspot for gambling and other vices in the Old West. It is believed that the residual energy of these events, along with the spirits of those who died tragically, lingers on, contributing to the building's haunted reputation. The Birdcage Theater is now open to the public as a museum, allowing visitors to explore its historic and eerie past. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, the stories surrounding the Birdcage Theater have undoubtedly added to its allure and fame as a haunted location in American history. The Tower of London, an iconic historic landmark situated on the banks of the River Thames in London, England, has a long and storied history, much of which is associated with the haunting tales and paranormal occurrences. The site's gruesome and turbulent past has led to numerous ghost stories and legends, making it one of the most haunted places in the United Kingdom. The Tower of London has served various purposes throughout its history, including being a royal palace, a fortress, and a prison. It gained a reputation as a place of torture and execution during the medieval period. Countless prisoners, including prominent figures like Anne Boleyn, Lady Jane Grey, and Thomas More, were held captive and executed within its walls. Many believe that the tormented spirits of these unfortunate souls still linger in the tower, haunting the grounds. One of the most enduring mysteries and ghostly tales associated with the tower is that of the princes in the tower. In 1483, the young King Edward V and his brother Richard, Duke of York, disappeared while being held in the tower. Their uncle, Richard III, seized the throne, and the fate of the young princes has remained shrouded in mystery. Over the centuries, several apparitions of young children dressed in historic clothing have been reported, believed to be the spirits of the lost princes. The central keep of the Tower of London, known as the White Tower, is said to be haunted by the spirit of a bear. The story goes that a bear was kept in the tower during the reign of King Henry III, and its ghostly presence is still felt by some visitors. The Tower of London's iconic Traitor's Gate, used to bring prisoners into the fortress, is associated with ghostly apparitions of headless figures. Among them are Anne Boleyn and Lady Jane Grey, both of whom were executed at the tower. Some visitors claim to have encountered ghostly figures dressed in historical uniforms who vanish into thin air when approached. These spectral sentinels are believed to be the ghosts of former guards protecting the tower even in the afterlife. According to legend, the ghost of a woman dressed in white, known as the Screaming Lady, roams the corridors of the tower. Her screams are said to be a constant reminder of the anguish and suffering endured by those who were held and executed within its walls. While many of these ghostly stories are based on historical events and legends, the Tower of London's haunted history continues to capture the imagination of visitors and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Whether or not you believe in the supernatural, a visit to this historic fortress is sure to evoke a sense of awe and intrigue steeped in centuries of captivating and often eerie tales. Aokigahara Forest, also known as the Sea of Trees or the Suicide Forest, is located at the northwest base of Mount Fuji in Japan. It has gained a haunting reputation due to its association with tragedy and paranormal occurrences, making it one of the most infamous and eerie places in the country. Aokigahara has a long history of being associated with supernatural phenomena and eerie tales. According to local folklore, the forest is considered a haunted place where Yuri and other malevolent spirits roam. The dense foliage and silence within the forest create an unsettling atmosphere, fueling these ghostly legends. The forest has tragically become known as a popular location for suicides, which has added to its haunting reputation. The reasons behind the high number of suicides are complex and multifaceted, including mental health issues, societal pressures, and cultural factors. Signs and prevention measures have been placed throughout the forest to deter individuals from taking their lives. One mysterious aspect of the forest is the presence of a magnetic anomaly. The volcanic rocks in the region create disturbances in the Earth's magnetic field, leading to compasses malfunctioning and causing disorientation for some visitors. This phenomenon adds to the sense of being lost and adds an eerie element to the forest's reputation. Visitors and locals alike have reported strange occurrences within the forest. People claim to hear disembodied voices, experience sudden drops in temperature, and feel an overwhelming sense of dread and sadness. These alleged paranormal experiences contribute to the forest's haunted reputation. Aokigahara has found its way into popular culture both in Japan and internationally. It has been featured in movies, documentaries, and books that portray its eerie ambience and the tragic history. These depictions have further cemented its reputation as a haunting and unsettling place. In recent years, there have been concerted efforts by various organizations and volunteers to address the issue of suicide in Aokigahara. Signs encouraging people to seek help, helpline numbers, and messages of hope have been installed throughout the forest. These efforts aim to raise awareness about mental health and provide support for those struggling with suicidal thoughts. Despite its dark reputation, Aokigahara Forest is also a place of natural beauty with scenic walking trails and unique lava formations. However, it is essential to remember the sensitivity and respect required when visiting such a place with a tragic history, and to recognize the importance of mental health awareness and support for those in need. The Myrtles Plantation is an old and infamous antebellum mansion located in St. Francisville, Louisiana. It has gained a reputation as one of America's most haunted homes due to the number of ghost stories and paranormal occurrences associated with it. The history of the plantation is riddled with tragedy, death, and mystery, which has contributed to its eerie reputation. The plantation was originally built in 1796 by General David Bradford, also known as Whiskey Dave. He was a successful lawyer and businessman who fled Pennsylvania to escape arrest for his role in the Whiskey Rebellion. Bradford lived in the mansion with his family until his death in 1808. The most well-known and tragic tale associated with the Myrtles is that of Chloe, a slave woman owned by Clark Woodruff who acquired the plantation in 1820. According to the legend, Clark had an affair with Chloe, and in a desperate attempt to gain his favor and protect herself from punishment, she eavesdropped on family conversations. However, when she was caught, Woodruff punished her by cutting off one of her ears. Feeling vengeful, Chloe poisoned a birthday cake intended for Woodruff's wife and two of her children. Tragically, the poison killed them, and the other slaves subsequently lynched Chloe for her actions. Her ghost is said to haunt the plantation, and some visitors claim to have seen a spectral woman wearing a turban and a green dress, believed to be Chloe, wandering the grounds. Another tragic event associated with the Myrtles is the murder of William Winter and his wife, Sarah. William was a lawyer and the plantation's owner in the mid-19th century. He was shot by a stranger, and as he lay dying, he managed to crawl back into the house, leaving a trail of blood that can still be seen to this day. Sarah, grief-stricken and heartbroken, died shortly after. Their spirits are said to linger in the mansion, with visitors reporting eerie sounds, strange occurrences, and even the presence of ghostly figures. Over the years, numerous reports of paranormal activity have been documented at the Myrtles Plantation, including unexplained footsteps, doors opening and closing on their own, strange noises, and ghostly apparitions. Many visitors and paranormal investigators have claimed to capture evidence of ghosts through photographs and electronic devices. The Myrtles Plantation has been featured in various TV shows and books about haunted locations, further cementing its reputation as a hotbed of supernatural activity. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the haunted history of Myrtles has certainly left a lasting impression on those who visit, making it a popular destination for thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. The Chateau de Chilon, located on the shores of Lake Geneva in Switzerland, is a medieval castle with a long and storied history, rich with legends and tales of hauntings. Over the centuries, the castle has witnessed numerous events, some of which have contributed to its haunted reputation. One of the most famous legends associated with the Chateau de Chilon involves the imprisonment and subsequent death of Francois Bonaparte. Francois Bonaparte was a Genevan politician and a prominent figure in the fight for independence from the House of Savoy in the 16th century. According to the legend, his ghost is said to still roam the castle's halls, forever haunting the place where he endured years of confinement. Another chilling tale that adds to the haunted aura of the castle is the story of the White Lady. The White Lady is a well-known figure in European folklore and appears in various haunted locations across the continent. In the case of Chilon, the White Lady is said to be the ghost of a former inhabitant or prisoner who met a tragic fate within the castle's walls. Her spirit is believed to linger in the castle, and some visitors and staff claim to have seen her ethereal figure drifting through the corridors. The dungeons of Chilon are infamous for their dark history and are believed to have witnessed numerous deaths and suffering throughout the centuries. Visitors to the dungeons often report feelings of unease, cold spots, and even hearing eerie whispers or faint cries, adding to the castle's reputation as a haunted location. The castle's extensive history of warfare and conflict also plays a part in its haunted past. Over the centuries, it has been involved in battles and sieges, leading to the deaths of soldiers and attackers. The residual energy from these intense and violent events is thought by some to contribute to the supernatural phenomena experienced within the castle. Today, the Chateau de Chilon is a popular tourist destination, and visitors are often intrigued by its haunted history and the captivating legends that surround it. While skeptics may dismiss these tales as mere stories, the atmosphere and the historical significance of the castle undoubtedly leave an impression on those who visit, and the haunted reputation persists, adding to the allure of this ancient and enigmatic fortress. The Catacombs of Paris are an underground ossuary in Paris, France, that hold the remains of millions of people. The site has a haunted history that has intrigued visitors and historians alike. The catacombs were originally created as limestone quarries to provide construction material for the growing city of Paris. Over the centuries, the underground tunnels spread extensively beneath the city. By the 18th century, Parisian cemeteries were becoming overcrowded, leading to health hazards and unpleasant odors. The decision was made to move the remains of the deceased into the disused quarry tunnels. Between the late 18th and 19th centuries, the bones from the various cemeteries were carefully transferred to the catacombs in a process that took several years. The bones were stacked and arranged in an organized manner, creating the eerie walls of bones that visitors see today. The catacombs have numerous tunnels and passages, some of which date back to Roman times, while others remain unexplored. These hidden passageways have led to stories of unexplained phenomena and ghostly encounters. Over the years, the catacombs have been the subject of various myths and legends. Some stories talk about the secret societies conducting mysterious rituals and gatherings in the underground maze. While there is little concrete evidence to support these claims, they add to the enigmatic aura surrounding the site. Urban explorers and curious individuals have ventured into the restricted areas of the catacombs, sometimes getting lost or encountering danger. These daring explorations have contributed to the sense of mystery and danger associated with the underground labyrinth. Visitors and workers in the catacombs have reported strange sounds, unexplained cold spots, and the feeling of being watched. While these accounts can often be attributed to the eerie atmosphere and psychological factors, they have added to the haunted reputation of the catacombs. In recent years, the authorities have increased security to prevent unauthorized access to the catacombs. This not only aims to protect visitors, but also to preserve the historical and cultural significance of this unique site. The haunted history of the Catacombs of Paris is a blend of factual events such as the mass reburial of bones and the mystery surrounding the ancient underground tunnels, combined with myths, legends, and the thrill of exploring forbidden areas. The site continues to captivate the imagination of people from around the world, making it one of the most intriguing and haunted places in Paris. The Crescent Hotel, located in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, has a long and storied history that has earned it a reputation as one of the most haunted hotels in the United States. The hotel was originally constructed in 1886 by the Eureka Springs Improvement Company and was intended to be a luxurious resort for wealthy visitors attracted to the area by the supposed healing powers of the local springs. Over the years, the hotel has witnessed various tragedies, accidents, and deaths, which are believed to have left lingering energy and spirits behind. One of the most tragic incidents occurred in 1885 when a stonemason named Michael was working on the hotel's construction, fell to his death in what is now room 218. Some guests have reported eerie experiences and encounters in this room ever since. In 1937, the hotel was transformed into the Baker Cancer Hospital, run by a charlatan named Norman Baker, who claimed to have the cure for cancer. However, his treatments were ineffective and often cruel, leading to the deaths of many patients. It is said that the spirits of some of these unfortunate patients still roam the halls, seeking solace or perhaps justice. Another alleged ghost is that of Dr. John Fremont Ellis, a prominent figure during the Baker era. He reportedly appears in the hotel's lobby and hallways, and some guests have claimed to see a distinguished-looking gentleman in period clothing walking through the building. There have been numerous accounts of a lady dressed in Victorian clothing wandering through the hotel and its gardens. Some believe she might be the spirit of a guest from the hotel's early days. Guests and staff have reported doors opening and closing on their own, unexplained cold spots, strange noises, and objects moving without any apparent cause. These occurrences have contributed to the hotel's reputation as a hotbed of paranormal activity. The hotel now embraces its haunted history and offers ghost tours for guests interested in exploring the alleged paranormal phenomena. These tours take visitors to some of the most haunted areas of the hotel and share the stories and experiences of past guests and staff members. Whether you are a believer in the supernatural or not, the Crescent Hotel's history and reputation as a haunted location add to its allure and intrigue for visitors from around the world. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, also known as the Weston State Hospital, is a historic mental health facility located in Weston, West Virginia. It has gained a reputation for being one of the most haunted places in the country due to its troubled past and the stories of paranormal activity associated with it. The asylum was constructed between 1858 and 1881, designed by architect Richard Andrews in a Victorian Gothic style. It was originally built to accommodate 250 patients, but became heavily overcrowded, housing over 2,400 patients at its peak in the 1950s. The conditions within the hospital were notoriously harsh and unsanitary, and patients often endured inhumane treatments. Throughout its history, the asylum employed controversial psychiatric practices common during the 19th and 20th centuries. Treatments such as lobotomies, electroshock therapy, and other experimental procedures were conducted on patients, often leading to physical and emotional suffering. Reports of abuse and neglect by staff members were also common. As public attitudes towards mental health treatment shifted and new treatment methods were developed, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum faced scrutiny and criticism. Lawsuits, funding issues, and changing ideologies eventually led to its closure in 1994. After the asylum's closure, reports of paranormal activity began to surface. Numerous ghost hunters, paranormal investigators, and tourists have claimed to witness strange occurrences within the abandoned building. Some of the reported experiences include disembodied voices, footsteps, apparitions, and feelings of being watched. In the years following its closure, the asylum started offering ghost tours, which further fueled its haunted reputation. Tourists and paranormal enthusiasts from all over the world have visited the site to explore the allegedly haunted corridors and rooms, hoping to encounter spirits and experience the building's eerie atmosphere. Among the most famous alleged ghosts are four spirits often referred to as the Big Four. They include the ghost of a young girl named Lily, a Civil War soldier, a violent entity known as the Shadow Man, and a former nurse named Elizabeth. Over time, various legends and myths have been associated with the asylum. These stories range from tragic patients' deaths to unsolved mysteries, which have contributed to the haunted reputation of the location. Whether one believes in the supernatural or not, the history of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum serves as a chilling reminder of the dark past of mental health care and the need for compassion and ethical treatment of individuals with mental illness.
The Shadow Man, in the small, secluded town of Ravenswood, nestled amidst dense forests and shadowy hills, a terrifying presence lurked in the darkness. For years, The townspeople had whispered of a malevolent figure that stalked the streets at night, preying on unsuspecting victims. They called him the Shadow Man, a name that sent shivers down the spines of even the bravest souls. One cold and foggy autumn evening, Emily, a young woman with auburn hair and an adventurous spirit, returned home after a late shift at a local diner. As she walked along the dimly lit streets, an eerie feeling washed over her, as if unseen eyes were watching her every move. She quickened her pace, trying to dismiss the unease gnawing at her mind. Suddenly, from the corner of her eye, Emily caught a fleeting glimpse of a dark figure darting behind the trees. Her heart pounded in her chest, and her instincts told her to run, but curiosity held her back. She convinced herself that it was merely a trick of the shadows. Over the next few nights, Emily couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every time she turned around, there was no one there, yet she felt a presence lingering nearby. She became paranoid, closing her blinds and double locking her doors. Sleep eluded her, and exhaustion etched deep lines on her face. One evening, as Emily prepared dinner, the power went out, plunging her home into darkness. The silence seemed heavier than usual, and the absence of streetlights amplified her fears. Trying to calm herself, she reached for her phone to call the power company when she noticed a message notification. Her heart sank when she saw the sender's name, the Shadow Man. Trembling, she opened the message. It was a chilling photograph of herself, taken from outside her window, the blinds partially open. The room behind her was pitch black, and only her illuminated figure stood out in the picture. Panic consumed her, and she felt like a helpless mouse caught in a predatory cat's sights. The messages kept coming, each one more ominous than the last. The stalker knew details about her life that no stranger should know. The terror escalated, and Emily felt trapped in her own nightmare. Desperate for help, she confided in the town sheriff, but even he seemed hesitant to believe her. After all, there was no concrete evidence of the Shadow Man's existence. Still, he assigned an officer to patrol her neighborhood at night, hoping to ease Emily's anxiety. One foggy midnight, as Emily lay awake in her bed, the silence was shattered by the sound of shattering glass. Her heart leaped into her throat as she realized the intruder was inside her house. She reached for her phone to call the police, but the signal was weak and the call wouldn't connect. In sheer terror, she hid in her closet, trying to make herself as small and quiet as possible. The creaking of footsteps echoed through her home, growing closer with each passing second. The door to her room opened slowly, and she saw the silhouette of a man outlined by the faint glow of the moon. Just as she felt the stalker's presence mere inches away from her hiding spot, a loud crash came from the front door. The patrol officer had arrived, alerted by the noise of the intruder breaking in. The shadow fled into the night, leaving Emily shaking and in tears. With the truth finally exposed, the town rallied to support Emily, and the police intensified their efforts to catch the stalker. The night patrols doubled, and the entire community kept watch for any suspicious activity. Slowly, the fear that had gripped Ravenswood began to loosen its hold. But as the days turned into weeks and then months, the Shadow Man remained elusive. He seemed to have vanished into thin air, leaving behind a legacy of terror that haunted the town for years to come. To this day, the legend of the Shadow Man lives on in Ravenswood, a cautionary tale for those who dare to venture out into the darkness alone. The memory of his sinister presence lingers in every shadow, a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are the ones we cannot see. The haunting of Blackwood Manor. In the small, secluded town of Blackwood, nestled deep within the dark woods, there stood an imposing mansion that had stood for centuries, Blackwood Manor. The locals whispered tales of tragic history, unexplainable occurrences, and restless spirits that were said to roam its halls. Many considered it cursed, and few dared to approach its ominous gates. The legend began centuries ago when the original owner, Lord Reginald Blackwood, lived there with his wife, Lady Amelia. They were known to be a wealthy and prestigious couple, but their fortune came at a terrible cost. Lord Blackwood was said to be obsessed with arcane knowledge and practiced dark arts in secret. Rumors spread that he made a pact with malevolent entities to ensure his wealth and power. The townspeople whispered that Lady Amelia was tormented by haunting visions and inexplicable noises echoing through the corridors of the mansion. Some even claimed to have seen her wandering the grounds in a spectral form, her once vibrant eyes now hollow and lifeless. The locals believed her soul was trapped within the manor, damned by the dark forces that her husband had unleashed. As years passed, Blackwood Manor fell into ruin. Its imposing facade became a ghostly silhouette against the backdrop of the moonlit sky. The once beautiful gardens were now overgrown with tangled thorns and eerie shadows. Yet, despite its decrepit state, there were those who claimed that the mansion's malevolence had not diminished, and that its halls still echoed with the tormented souls of the past. In the present day, the town of Blackwood had all but forgotten the mansion's grim history. People had grown accustomed to living with the tale of the haunted manor, regarding it more as a myth to scare children than a dark reality. That was until the Johnson family, recent newcomers to Blackwood, decided to move into Blackwood Manor, hoping to restore its former glory. John and Elizabeth Johnson were an adventurous couple with a passion for old architecture. The mansion's grandeur and tragic history intrigued them, and they felt a strange draw to the place. They moved in with their young daughter, Emily, despite the warnings from the superstitious townspeople. For the first few weeks, the Johnsons found the mansion to be enchanting. They restored its elegant ballroom, dusted off ancient chandeliers, and repaired the creaking wooden floors. Yet, as time passed, odd things began to happen. Doors slammed shut on their own, chilling whispers echoed in empty rooms, and shadows danced along the walls. Emily, the Johnsons' young daughter, was the first to sense the malevolence that lurked within Blackwood Manor. She spoke of an invisible playmate named Amelia, describing her as a sad woman who wore beautiful but tattered dresses. Emily would giggle and converse with Amelia, but her parents chalked it up to the imagination of a lonely child. As the days grew colder, so did the atmosphere in the mansion. John and Elizabeth often heard indistinct voices arguing late into the night, but when they investigated, the voices ceased. One evening, while the family was having dinner in the elegant dining hall, the candles flickered violently and the temperature plummeted. Emily claimed that Amelia was there, her presence felt by the young girl alone. The tension among the family members escalated as they struggled to rationalize the strange happenings. They decided to invite a renowned paranormal investigator, Professor Edward Hartley, to help them understand what was transpiring in their new home. Professor Hartley had faced numerous haunted locations, but Blackwood Manor was unlike any other. Upon arriving, the professor immediately sensed the malevolent energy lingering in the air. He conducted thorough investigations, using advanced equipment and old-fashioned ANSYS. As days turned into weeks, the darkness within the mansion intensified. The professor discovered that the spirit of Lady Amelia was indeed trapped, but not by her own doing. Through intense research into the manor's history, Professor Hartley unraveled a tragic tale. Lord Blackwood's dark practices had indeed bound Amelia's spirit to the mansion, and the only way to free her was to break the curse he had initiated centuries ago. With the help of local historians, the professor and the Johnsons learned about an ancient artifact called the Talisman of Souls. Legend had it that this talisman had the power to dispel malevolent spirits and break curses. However, its whereabouts were unknown, lost to time and the shadows of the past. Determined to save Amelia and cleanse the manor of its malevolence, the family and the professor embarked on a perilous journey to find the Talisman of Souls. Their quest took them deep into the heart of the haunted woods, where they faced numerous trials and terrifying encounters with vengeful spirits. Their search was fraught with danger, but they persisted, driven by their love for Emily and the desire to liberate Lady Amelia from her torment. In the end, their perseverance paid off, and they discovered the ancient talisman hidden within a long-forgotten crypt. With the Talisman of Souls in hand, they returned to Blackwood Manor. The family, with Professor Hartley's guidance, performed a complex ritual to break the curse that had bound Amelia for centuries. The ritual involved unlocking the talisman's power and channeling it through the mansion's walls, purifying the malevolent energy that had held Amelia captive. As the ritual reached its climax, the mansion trembled, and a blinding light engulfed the entire estate. The spirits of the past manifested briefly before vanishing into the ether. When the light finally subsided, Lady Amelia stood before them, her once melancholic expression now filled with peace and gratitude. Amelia's spirit, finally free, thanked the Johnsons and Professor Hartley for their bravery and compassion. With a soft smile, she faded away, her spirit finally at rest. The Johnsons knew that the mansion would forever be haunted by its past, but now it was a haunting of memories rather than malevolence. From that day on, Blackwood Manor no longer emanated malevolent energy. Instead, it stood as a testament to the strength of love and the power of compassion. The tale of the haunted mansion persisted through generations, but it was a tale of redemption and hope, reminding people that even the darkest places could find light once more. And so, the Johnson family lived in Blackwood Manor for years to come, sharing the tale of Lady Amelia and the Talisman of Souls with visitors who dared to venture into the old mysterious mansion in the woods. Blackwood Manor, once a cursed place of tragedy, had transformed into a beacon of hope and a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. In the small town of Ravenswood, nestled among the dense woods, stood an abandoned asylum. Once a place of hope and healing for the mentally ill, it now lay in ruin, shrouded in eerie legends and ghostly tales. The townsfolk spoke of strange sightings, chilling cries echoing through the night, and mysterious lights flickering in the darkness. The asylum had been abandoned for decades, but its haunting presence lingered on. The story begins with a young and ambitious journalist named Emma. She had a fascination with the supernatural and a desire to unravel the truth behind the asylum's dark history. Emma believed that there was more to the haunting stories than mere superstitions. Determined to uncover the asylum's secrets, she embarked on a journey to investigate the abandoned building. Equipped with a camera, a voice recorder, and a journal, Emma ventured into the crumbling asylum one foggy evening. The atmosphere was thick with tension, and every creaking floorboard sent shivers down her spine. She navigated through the decaying hallways, documenting her experiences as she went along. As she delved deeper into the asylum's heart, Emma began to sense an otherworldly presence. Something not quite right. Whispers echoed around her, but the source of these eerie sounds remained unseen. Her heartbeat quickened, and she questioned whether she should continue her investigation. Ignoring her fears, Emma pressed on, guided by her curiosity and determination. She soon stumbled upon a hidden chamber within the asylum's labyrinthine structure. Inside, she discovered a stack of old patient files, revealing the tragic and horrifying treatment of the mentally ill during the asylum's operation. Among the files, one caught Emma's attention, the story of a young woman named Isabella, who had been wrongly committed to the asylum by her own family. According to the records, Isabella had been a talented artist, but her family considered her eccentric behavior a sign of madness. They confined her to the asylum, where she endured unimaginable suffering. As Emma continued to read, she felt a sudden chill in the air. The lights flickered, and shadows seemed to dance on the walls. Unbeknownst to her, Isabella's spirit had awakened, drawn to the intruder, who now held her tragic tale in her hands. The presence grew stronger, and Emma began to experience bizarre phenomena. Objects moved on their own, and disembodied whispers surrounded her. Yet, in her heart, Emma could feel Isabella's sadness and anger, as if the young woman's tormented soul sought acknowledgement and vindication. Emma realized that she couldn't leave without putting Isabella's spirit to rest. With her journalistic instinct still intact, she decided to piece together the truth and bring justice to Isabella's memory. She returned to the town archives and uncovered evidence of Isabella's wrongful commitment, proving that she had been sane all along. Armed with this newfound information, Emma reached out to the living descendants of Isabella's family, hoping to make them acknowledge their ancestors' unjust suffering. Through heartfelt pleas and the weight of undeniable evidence, Emma convinced them to clear Isabella's name and recognize the grave mistake made by their ancestors. With the truth finally acknowledged, the asylum's haunting presence began to subside. Isabella's spirit, having found peace, was no longer bound to the asylum's tragic past. The townspeople, learning of the truth, came together to honor Isabella's memory and turn the abandoned asylum into a memorial for the mistreated patients who had once resided there. In the end, the haunted asylum became a symbol of redemption and hope. Emma's courage and determination not only brought closure to a restless spirit, but also shed light on the dark chapters of the town's history. And so, the legend of the haunted asylum in Ravenswood transformed from a tale of terror to one of compassion and understanding, reminding everyone that even in the darkest of places, the light of truth can shine through. In the small town of Hollowbrook, there was an old circus that had been abandoned for years. The townspeople spoke of strange occurrences happening near the site, but it was the tale of a malevolent clown that sent shivers down their spines. They called him Grinsworth, and his face was etched in the nightmares of those who dared to speak his name. Legend had it that Grinsworth was the star attraction of the circus in its heyday, a clown who brought joy and laughter to the crowds. But something changed within him, and he became obsessed with the idea of eternal youth and immortality. In his madness, he sought dark and forbidden knowledge, delving into occult rituals to achieve his twisted desires. One stormy night, a group of curious teenagers, fueled by rumors and a desire for thrills, decided to explore the abandoned circus. As they ventured into the crumbling big top, they felt an eerie presence surrounding them. The wind howled, and the sound of rustling fabric sent chills down their spines. Suddenly, a flickering light revealed Grinsworth standing before them. His face was painted in grotesque colors, his eyes hollow and piercing. A malevolent grin stretched across his face as he cackled menacingly. The teens tried to flee, but they found themselves trapped, surrounded by an unseen force. Grinsworth's voice echoed in their minds, a haunting melody that paralyzed them with fear. One by one, he toyed with their fears, revealing their deepest insecurities and using them against them. The clown's presence seemed to warp reality itself, turning the funhouse mirrors into portals to their nightmares. Terrifying images filled their minds, each more ghastly than the last. As the night wore on, the circus seemed to come alive, with sinister laughter echoing through the air and ghostly apparitions dancing on the fringes of vision. Grinsworth's malevolence grew with each passing moment, his hunger for the teenager's fear evident in every gesture and word. But amidst the terror, one brave girl, Lily, found an old, dusty book hidden within the circus grounds. It spoke of a ritual that could banish the malevolent spirit of Grinsworth forever. Lily knew that this was their only chance to survive the nightmarish ordeal. With trembling hands, she began the ritual, chanting incantations to confront the clown's malevolence. Grinsworth's laughter turned to fury as he fought against the spell's power. The ground shook, and the air crackled with energy as the battle between good and evil played out. Finally, with a blinding flash of light, Grinsworth's twisted form was engulfed in darkness, vanishing into the void. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the teens found themselves standing in the abandoned circus, safe but shaken. The malevolent clown was gone, but his memory would haunt their dreams for years to come. From that day on, the old circus remained undisturbed, a place shrouded in mystery and fear. The townspeople knew better than to approach it, for they feared that Grinsworth's malevolent spirit might still linger, waiting to trap unwary souls in his nightmarish grasp. And so, the tale of the Clown of Hollowbrook became a cautionary tale, a warning never to play with the darkness that lurks in the abandoned places of the world. In the small, secluded town of Blackwood, nestled deep within a dense forest, an eerie silence hung over its eerie streets. The townspeople lived their lives with an air of caution, for they knew about the cult that lurked in the shadows, a religious sect that worshipped an ancient and malevolent deity. For generations, the cult of the Crimson Serpent had maintained its grip on Blackwood, invoking fear and reverence in equal measure. Their leader, the enigmatic High Priestess, was said to possess supernatural powers, able to communicate with the serpentine god that they worship. One moonlit night, a brave investigative journalist named Bailey arrived in Blackwood to unravel the secrets of the cult. Armed with determination and curiosity, Bailey began to delve into the town's dark history. The townspeople were hesitant to speak of the cult, but whispers in the night told of chilling rituals that occurred in the depths of the forest. Bailey's investigations led her to an old, decaying mansion on the outskirts of Blackwood, the rumored epicenter of the cult's activities. As she approached the ominous building, she felt an overwhelming sense of dread, but her resolve remained unshaken. The mansion seemed to leer at her, its windows like soulless eyes watching her every move. Inside the mansion, Bailey discovered a hidden chamber filled with disturbing relics and symbols, a shrine to the Crimson Serpent. The walls were adorned with cryptic scriptures and paintings of grotesque rituals. The air was thick with the scent of incense, mingled with the iron tang of blood. As Bailey continued her investigation, she encountered the cult's followers, zealots, dressed in blood-red robes adorned with the serpent symbol. Their eyes were hollow, and their devotion to the High Priestess was unquestionable. Bailey soon realized she was not alone in the mansion. The cult had been alerted to her presence. She tried to flee, but the cultists pursued her through the labyrinthine corridors of the mansion. Trapped and terrified, Bailey stumbled upon a hidden door that led to an underground catacomb, the heart of the cult's rituals. There, she witnessed a chilling scene, a congregation of cultists, encircling the high priestess and a massive statue of the Crimson Serpent. The serpent's eyes seemed to flicker with an otherworldly glow. Bailey's heart pounded in her chest as she hid behind a crumbling pillar, praying to remain undetected. The high priestess raised a ceremonial dagger, and the cultists chanted in a macabre rhythm. In a terrifying ritual, they offered a sacrifice, a helpless villager abducted from the town. Bailey watched in horror as the life force was drained from the poor soul, feeding the malevolent deity. The sacrifice complete, the Crimson Serpent statue appeared to come alive, its eyes blazing with unholy fire. Bailey's breath caught in her throat, and she knew she had to escape before she became the cult's next offering. With a courage born of desperation, Bailey managed to slip away from the catacombs and back into the forest. But the cult was relentless in its pursuit. The deeper she ventured into the woods, the more she felt the malevolent presence of the Crimson Serpent surrounding her. As Bailey stumbled through the dense underbrush, she saw eerie apparitions lurking between the trees, shadowy figures with glowing eyes and serpentine forms. She could feel the cult closing in on her, their chilling chants echoing through the night. Finally, Bailey reached the outskirts of Blackwood, exhaustion and terror weighing heavily on her. She knew she had to warn the world about the cult's existence, about the ancient evil that dwelled in the heart of the forest. With the rising sun, she made her way to the nearest town, where she shared her harrowing tale with the authorities and journalists alike. News of the cult of the Crimson Serpent spread like wildfire, and an investigation was launched to dismantle the sect and put an end to their malevolent rituals. But even with the cult disbanded, the legend of the Crimson Serpent continued to haunt the town of Blackwood. For those who had witnessed its horrors, the memory lingered like a nightmare, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can take root in the hearts of the devout and the dangers of religious fanaticism gone awry. In the small town of Ravenswood, a quiet darkness lurked beneath the surface. Residents went about their daily lives, unaware of the malevolent presence that stalked their streets at night. For years, a serial killer had been haunting the town, leaving a trail of terror in their wake. The locals referred to the killer as the Shadow, for they struck under the cover of darkness and left no trace behind. No one knew their identity, and fear had gripped the community in its icy hold. The police were baffled, unable to connect the dots between the seemingly random victims. One fateful night, the moon hung low, casting an eerie glow upon the streets of Ravenswood. In a quaint, old-fashioned neighborhood, a young woman named Emily found herself walking home alone after a late shift at the local diner. Unbeknownst to her, the Shadow had been watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As Emily rounded a dimly lit corner, a chilling gust of wind ruffled her hair, and she sensed a sinister presence lingering nearby. Her heart raced, but she tried to convince herself it was just her imagination playing tricks. She quickened her pace, clutching her phone tightly in her trembling hand. Just when she thought she was safe, she heard a faint whisper behind her. "Emily," it hissed, sending shivers down her spine. Emily glanced over her shoulder and saw a fleeting shadow among the trees, a figure that seemed to melt into the darkness. Terror consumed her, and she broke into a desperate run, but the shadowy figure was quick on her heels, closing the distance with each step. Emily's breaths grew ragged, and her feet pounded against the pavement as she desperately searched for any sign of help. But the streets were deserted, and the only sounds were her frantic gasps and the haunting laughter of her relentless pursuer. Panic gripped her heart as she realized there was no escape from the shadow's grasp. Finally, with her strength waning, Emily spotted a flickering light ahead, the local church. Desperation guided her there, hoping for sanctuary within its walls. As she reached the entrance, she banged on the wooden door, begging for someone to let her in. A lone priest, Father Thomas, opened the door with a puzzled expression. "What's the matter, my child?" he asked. "There's someone following me. Please, help me," Emily pleaded, tears streaming down her face. Father Thomas pulled her inside and locked the door behind them. He could sense the genuine fear in Emily's eyes and knew that something truly sinister lurked outside. Together, they peered out of the church's windows. In the pale moonlight, they caught a glimpse of the shadow's ominous silhouette, watching them from a distance. The priest's face turned grave as he whispered, "The night will pass, and the sun will bring safety." Hour after hour, they huddled together, praying for dawn to break. The sounds of distant sirens echoed through the town, indicating that the police were on the hunt for the elusive killer. But the shadow remained, playing a chilling game of cat and mouse with the authorities. As the first rays of dawn painted the sky, the shadow retreated into the shadows, vanishing like a ghost. Emily's fear began to subside, replaced with gratitude for Father Thomas and the safety of the church. But the nightmare wasn't over. The sun's light revealed a chilling truth. The walls of the church were adorned with haunting symbols and cryptic messages, all hinting at the existence of a sinister cult that had long been manipulating Ravenswood from the shadows. The revelation sent shivers down Emily's spine, knowing that the shadow was not acting alone. The cult's presence meant that the horror would continue, and no one in Ravenswood would ever be truly safe. From that day on, the town lived in perpetual fear, always looking over their shoulders, wondering if the shadow would strike again. As the unsolved murders piled up, the legend of the serial killer grew, perpetuating a cycle of terror that Ravenwood couldn't break free from a chilling reminder that evil can exist anywhere, even in the most unsuspecting places. The air was thick with a sense of unease as the moonlight filtered through the thick canopy of trees, casting eerie shadows on the abandoned circus grounds. The Ferris wheel loomed like a skeletal giant, its rusted frame creaking in the wind. But it was the freak show tent that drew the most attention. Many had heard whispers about the horrors that lurked within, but few dared to venture near. One night, a group of curious teenagers gathered at the outskirts of the circus grounds, emboldened by the thrill of the forbidden and the allure of the unknown. Among them was Sarah, a fearless girl with an insatiable curiosity that sometimes bordered on recklessness. She led the way, her flashlight cutting through the darkness as they approached the menacing tent. As they reached the entrance, the wind seemed to howl in protest, warning them of the horrors that lay ahead. But the group pressed on, too intrigued to turn back. The creaking of the wooden sign above the entrance sent shivers down their spines as they read the faded words, "Chamber of Freaks, enter if you dare." Nervously laughing off their unease, they stepped inside. The interior was dimly lit, and a strange, musky scent hung in the air. Cages lined the walls, each containing a unique and terrifying sight. A two-headed serpent twisted and writhed, its slitted eyes staring intently at the visitors. A grotesque figure with elongated limbs and sharp talons reached out from another cage, causing them to step back in horror. As they moved deeper into the tent, Sarah noticed a shadowy figure lurking in the corner. Straining her eyes, she made out the form of a man, or what seemed like a man, hunched over and concealed beneath a tattered cloak. His eyes glinted with an unsettling gleam, and as they drew nearer, the air grew colder. Sarah's friends were on edge, but she couldn't resist the urge to confront the mysterious figure. Her heart pounded in her chest as she asked, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" The figure remained silent for a moment before letting out a haunting cackle that echoed through the tent. "I am the ringmaster of this cursed circus," he rasped, his voice sending chills down their spines. "Once, this was a place of wonder and awe, but darkness has consumed it, and now it is a realm of nightmares." The ringmaster stepped forward, revealing his disfigured face. His skin was stretched taut over his skull, and his eyes were sunken and hollow. He wore a twisted grin that seemed to defy the very laws of nature. "Would you like to see the true horrors of this forsaken place?" he asked, his voice a sinister whisper. Before they could respond, the cages around them rattled, and the grotesque creatures inside began to stir. The two-headed serpent lunged at its bars, and the figure with elongated limbs contorted in a disturbing dance. The teenagers stumbled backward in terror, desperate to escape the nightmarish scene. But the ringmaster had other plans. With a wave of his bony hand, the tent seemed to come alive, its walls pulsating with an otherworldly energy. The group found themselves trapped, unable to find the exit they had entered through. As panic set in, Sarah's instincts kicked in, and she realized the only way to escape was to face the darkness head-on. "We must confront our fears," she shouted to her friends, trying to steady her trembling voice. One by one, they faced their deepest fears, fighting against the nightmarish manifestations that the circus conjured. It was a harrowing ordeal, but Sarah's determination inspired the others to find their strength as well. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the circus grounds returned to stillness. The cages were once again motionless, and the freak show tent appeared dormant. The ringmaster vanished into the shadows, leaving the group bewildered and shaken, but alive. As they stumbled out of the tent, they made a pact never to speak of that night again. The circus grounds were left undisturbed, a haunting reminder of the horrors they had encountered. But somewhere in the darkness, the ringmaster still lurked, forever bound to the cursed circus, waiting for the next foolhardy souls to awaken the terrors that lay within. In the heart of the dense, foreboding forest stood an ancient, abandoned mansion known as the Cursed Manor. Its eerie silhouette cast long shadows that seemed to dance in the moonlight. Locals spoke in hushed whispers of a horrifying beast that lurked within the mansion's crumbling walls, a creature so malevolent that it struck terror into the hearts of those who dared to venture near. Legend had it that long ago, a wicked sorceress inhabited the mansion. Consumed by dark magic and evil desires, she conjured a cursed creature to serve as her loyal enforcer. The beast, a grotesque amalgamation of different animals, had razor-sharp claws, eyes that glowed like blood-red embers, and a feral hunger that could never be sated. As the years passed, the sorceress's malevolent reign ended with a vicious mob storming the mansion, seeking to end her wicked ways. The beast, now free from its cursed servitude, rampaged through the mob, ripping them apart with relentless brutality. But as the last flicker of life escaped the sorceress, the mansion and its surrounding woods were cursed forever. Rumors spread of the beast's relentless thirst for blood and its unnerving ability to shapeshift, blending seamlessly into the darkness. It preyed upon unwary travelers who dared to stray too close, vanishing without a trace, leaving behind nothing but a haunting sense of dread. One chilling autumn night, a group of thrill-seeking youths decided to challenge fate and explore the cursed manor. Ignoring the cautionary tales, they believed the legends to be mere superstitions meant to deter the faint of heart. Armed with flashlights, the group hesitantly entered the dilapidated mansion. Creaking floorboards echoed with every step they took, and the chilling wind whistled through the broken windows. The stench of decay permeated the air, and the eerie silence amplified their unease. As they wandered deeper into the mansion, a strange, guttural growl echoed through the corridors. Panic gripped the group as their flashlights caught a glimpse of gleaming eyes in the darkness. Before they could react, the beast lunged forward, its nightmarish form morphing before their eyes. Desperation fueled their flight, but the beast was relentless in its pursuit. One by one, the youths fell victim to its savage onslaught, their terrified screams swallowed by the suffocating darkness. Only one of them managed to escape, a young woman named Sarah. She ran for her life, not daring to look back. With every breath she took, she could feel the beast's hot breath on her neck, and its dreadful growls vibrated through the very ground she tread. In the final moments of her escape, Sarah stumbled upon an old rusted knife, an ancient relic left behind by the sorceress herself. As fear and determination battled within her, she knew she had no choice but to face the creature that haunted the cursed manor. Sarah lured the beast into the heart of the mansion, where moonlight seeped through the roof's tattered remnants. Shadows danced all around as Sarah clutched the knife with trembling hands, her heart pounding in her ears. With a primal scream, she faced the beast. The ensuing battle was a frenzied dance of life and death. The creature's malevolence clashed with Sarah's fierce will to survive. In a final, desperate maneuver, she plunged the ancient knife into the beast's heart, releasing it from its cursed existence. As the lifeless form of the creature crumbled before her, the mansion seemed to sigh in relief. Sarah emerged, the sole survivor of the terrifying encounter, bearing the weight of the haunted tales she would forever carry. From that day forward, the cursed manor became an unspoken taboo, and the legend of the killer beast lived on in whispers around campfires. The tales serve as a stark reminder that some horrors are better left undisturbed, for within the depths of darkness, nightmares take shape, and the primal fear of the unknown may very well become all too real. In the heart of a forgotten city lies a dark secret that has been buried for centuries: the catacombs. These shadowy underground tunnels and chambers were once used to house the deceased, but they have long been abandoned and shunned by the living. Many tales of horror surround the catacombs, warning people to stay away, but some are drawn to the eerie allure of the subterranean labyrinth. The tale begins with a group of adventurous souls, young and foolish, seeking a thrill on the night of All Hallows Eve. Eager to experience something spine-chilling, they decide to venture into the depths of the catacombs, fueled by the stories of restless spirits and malevolent entities that roam the tunnels in search of lost souls. With only flickering lanterns to light their way, they descend into the abyss, leaving behind the comforting glow of the city streets. The air is heavy with the scent of decay and dampness, and the oppressive darkness seems to have a life of its own, swallowing their courage with each step. As they delve deeper, The passageways twist and turn, leading them into a maze of bones and forgotten history. The walls are lined with skulls, a macabre display of the past that seems to be watching their every move. Whispers echo through the tunnels, growing louder and more distinct with each passing moment, though no one can discern their source. One by one, strange occurrences befall the group. A chilling breeze envelops them even in the stifling underground, sending shivers down their spines. Shadows dance in the periphery of their vision, playing tricks on their minds, and eerie laughter taunts them from the darkness. Yet, they press on, unable to resist the allure of the unknown. Soon, they realize they have lost their way, and panic sets in. The once solid ground feels treacherous beneath their feet, as if it could swallow them whole at any moment. Their lanterns begin to flicker ominously, casting long, distorted shadows that seem to be reaching out to grasp them. As they wander aimlessly through the catacombs, their senses betray them. They hear distant screams and the wailing of anguished souls, sending terror coursing through their veins. The boundary between the living and the dead blurs, and the spirits of those who were laid to rest here seem to be stirring from their eternal slumber. Suddenly, a blood-curdling cry pierces the air, and the group is separated in the chaos that ensues. Panic-stricken, they desperately call out to one another, but their voices are swallowed by the depths of the catacombs. Alone and disoriented, each one experiences their own nightmarish visions. They encounter apparitions that haunt their memories, embodying their deepest fears and regrets. Some face vengeful spirits seeking retribution for past wrongs, while others confront their own mortality and the futility of life. With each passing moment, the catacombs seem to shift and change, toying with their perceptions of reality. Walls that were once solid give way to vast chasms, and familiar passages lead them in circles, trapping them in an endless loop of terror. As the night wears on, the line between the living and the dead blurs further, and the group's collective fear feeds the malevolent energy that pervades the catacombs. They become puppets in a nightmarish play, orchestrated by unseen forces, and it becomes increasingly unclear if they will ever escape the clutches of the catacombs. Legend has it that the souls who venture into the catacombs on All Hallows Eve are destined to become a part of its chilling history, forever haunting its depths and beckoning others to join them in the eternal darkness. And so, the catacombs continue to lure in those seeking thrills and secrets. But beware, for once you step foot into the abyss, there may be no return, and you too might become lost in the chilling embrace of the catacombs, forever trapped between the worlds of the living and the dead. The Carnival of Nightmares. Once, in a long-forgotten town, a mysterious carnival emerged under the pale light of the full moon. It materialized overnight, as if summoned by some unholy force. The townspeople watched in awe and trepidation as the carnival's eerie rides and attractions took shape in the dimly lit field on the outskirts of town. Among the carnival's sinister offerings was the notorious Carnival of Nightmares dark ride. It stood ominously at the heart of the carnival, its entrance adorned with flickering bulbs that cast a haunting glow. The ride's reputation preceded it, with tales of people vanishing and strange occurrences haunting those who dared venture inside. Rumors whispered of a malevolent carnival magician who cursed the ride centuries ago. The legends spoke of a wicked soul who sought immortality through dark rituals and necromancy. His maleficent ambition backfired, trapping his twisted spirit within the dark ride, forever bound to torment those who dared to enter. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the carnival came alive, beckoning the curious and the brave. In the distance, eerie music echoed through the night, luring the townsfolk toward the ethereal spectacle. Against the backdrop of a crescent moon, a small group of daring teenagers gathered, led by Emily, a headstrong young woman with a penchant for adventure. Drawn by curiosity and a dash of youthful bravado, they vowed to unravel the mysteries of the Carnival of Nightmares. The air grew colder as they approached the dark ride. The flickering bulbs seemed to flicker more menacingly, and the sound of distant laughter sent shivers down their spines. With trepidation, they stepped into the line, each step feeling heavier, as if an invisible force tried to deter them. At the entrance, an old carnival barker with hollow eyes and a tattered top hat greeted them with an unsettling smile. "Welcome, brave souls, to the Carnival of Nightmares," he croaked, his voice raspy and unnerving. "Once you enter, there's no turning back. Are you sure you're ready to confront your deepest fears?" Emily exchanged glances with her friends, and with determined nods, they paid their admission and boarded the rickety carts that awaited them. The doors creaked shut, and the ride jerked into motion, plunging them into darkness. The first scene depicted a desolate graveyard, with skeletal figures clawing their way out of shallow graves. The air filled with the stench of decay, and the ride's carts seemed to move on their own, taking unexpected turns. Panic set in as the teenagers realized they were no longer in control. In each subsequent scene, their worst fears manifested before their eyes. Emily found herself in an endless abyss, tormented by her fear of isolation. Her friends faced phantoms of their past, monstrous creatures, and nightmarish landscapes that defied reason. The carnival magician's laughter echoed throughout the ride, his sinister voice taunting and mocking their terror. Each twist and turn seemed to drag on forever, as if time itself had lost its way within the nightmarish labyrinth. As the ride neared its end, the teenagers' courage waned, and they yearned for escape. But the Carnival of Nightmares had other plans. It wasn't done with them yet. Suddenly, the carts screeched to a halt in front of a twisted figure wearing a tattered top hat and a malevolent grin, the carnival magician himself. "Welcome to my domain," he hissed, his eyes ablaze with wickedness. In a chilling incantation, the magician summoned the malevolent spirits trapped within the ride, and they swirled around the terrified teens like a haunting fog. The friends clung to each other, desperate to break free from the clutches of the maleficent magician. But just as it seemed all hope was lost, Emily remembered an old legend passed down through generations. In a trembling voice, she recited the words that were said to banish the carnival magician back to the darkness. As she uttered the incantation, the carnival magician's hold weakened, and the spirits dispersed into the night. The carts began to move backward, retracing their steps through the nightmarish scenes. The magician's furious screams echoed through the darkness as he was banished once more. When the carts finally emerged into the moonlit night, the teenagers stumbled out, shaken but alive. The carnival had vanished as abruptly as it had appeared, leaving only an empty field in its wake. From that night on, the Carnival of Nightmares became a distant memory, a tale told to frightened children around campfires. But the courageous group of friends knew the truth, that somewhere in the shadows, the carnival magician and his dark ride awaited, biding their time for the next unsuspecting souls to venture into their malevolent realm. And so, the legend lived on, a chilling reminder that some nightmares are best left undisturbed. In the depths of a long-forgotten cemetery, shrouded in mist and darkness, lay an ancient burial ground known only to the most intrepid souls. Locals spoke of eerie legends surrounding this desolate place, but few dared to venture near its haunted borders. One fateful night, 5 reckless friends decided to challenge the sinister tales and embarked on a daring adventure to explore the mysteries hidden beneath the crumbling tombstones. As the group approached a graveyard, their lanterns cast wavering shadows that danced eerily across the graves. A chilling wind whispered through the trees, and their hearts pounded with a mixture of fear and excitement. James, the most audacious of the group, boasted of his bravery, attempting to hide the unease that gnawed at his soul. Unaware of the malevolent presence lurking among the tombstones, the friends descended into the crypt of an ancient mausoleum. The stale air surrounded them like a suffocating cloak, but their curiosity pushed them forward. As they explored deeper into the crypt's dim interior, they stumbled upon a hidden passage that led to a sinister chamber they had never seen before. The chamber appeared to be an abandoned burial site, with decayed coffins lining the walls. A sense of dread filled the air as they realized they were standing amidst forgotten souls. It was then they discovered an ominous sarcophagus, intricately carved with ominous symbols. Fueled by the intoxicating mix of fear and curiosity, they foolishly decided to open it, seeking hidden treasures or ancient secrets. As the lid creaked open, an ancient curse, long held in check, was released, unleashing malevolent spirits upon the unsuspecting intruders. Panic erupted among the group, and they rushed to escape the suffocating embrace of the cursed tomb. But their desperate attempts were in vain, as the spirits hunted them relentlessly, driven by an unquenchable thirst for vengeance. One by one, the friends fell prey to the wrath of the tormented spirits, consumed by madness and despair. James, the bravado-filled leader, was the last remaining soul, desperately searching for a way out as the shadows closed in around him. In a final act of desperation, James found himself trapped in a claustrophobic underground chamber. The spirits, with their ghostly wails, encircled him. As the walls closed in, panic consumed him, and he realized the horrifying truth: he was being buried alive. Frantic, he clawed at the cold, suffocating earth, his screams swallowed by the unforgiving silence of the tomb. But the spirits were unyielding, watching with empty eyes as the life slowly drained from James. His pleas for mercy echoed futilely in the empty chamber until they faded into nothingness. The cursed burial ground, victorious in its malevolence, claimed yet another victim, leaving nothing but haunting memories of a doomed expedition. The chilling tale of the friends who dared disturb the rest of the tormented spirits in that long-forgotten cemetery became a cautionary legend, warning all who heard it never to disturb the restless dead for the price of curiosity, maybe an eternity of suffering, buried alive in darkness and despair. In the small town of Ravenwood, a sense of foreboding hung in the air like a heavy fog. Among the locals, there was a chilling tale that sent shivers down their spines: the legend of the possessed doll. The story began decades ago when a toy maker named Mr. Aberrant crafted a sinister-looking doll named Isabella. Mr. Aberrant's life had been plagued by tragedy, and many believed he had infused the doll with the spirits of his lost loved ones. Isabella had an eerie porcelain face with cold, lifeless eyes that seemed to follow you wherever you went. Her dress was tattered and stained, giving her an unsettling appearance. The doll found its way into the hands of a young girl named Emily, who lived in a creaky old house at the edge of the woods. Emily was an only child and often felt lonely. so she cherished the company of Isabella, whom she affectionately called Bella. At first, Bella seemed like any other doll, but soon, strange things began to happen. Emily's toys would go missing, only to reappear in bizarre places. At night, Emily heard eerie whispers coming from her bedroom, and the sounds of tiny footsteps echoed through the hallways when no one was there. As days turned into weeks, Bella's malevolent influence grew stronger. Emily's once bright and lively demeanor began to fade, replaced by a haunting darkness that gripped her soul. She became obsessed with the doll, spending every waking moment with it, neglecting her friends and family. Emily's parents noticed the change in their daughter and grew concerned. They attempted to take the doll away, but every time they tried, they were met with inexplicable accidents and misfortunes. It was as if Isabella protected herself, lashing out at anyone who dared to separate her from Emily. One stormy night, the town's fear reached its peak when a neighbor claimed to have seen the doll moving on its own through Emily's bedroom window. The doll's lifeless eyes stared out with an unsettling intensity, as if it was searching for something or someone. The town decided it was time to put an end to the malevolence that had taken hold of their beloved Emily. A group of brave souls gathered at Emily's house, determined to rid her of the cursed doll. They entered the house, armed with crosses, holy water, and candles, ready to perform an exorcism. As they approached Emily's room, they were met with an eerie silence. The door creaked open, revealing Emily sitting on her bed, cradling the doll in her arms. Her eyes were hollow, and her voice was cold and monotone. The exorcism began, and the room filled with the smell of burning sage and the sound of ancient incantations. Isabella's lifeless eyes seemed to blaze with fury, and the doll began to levitate from Emily's arms, twisting and contorting in the air. Emily's soul fought to break free from the doll's grasp, but Isabella's malevolence was strong. The exorcism intensified, and the room shook with an otherworldly force. The doll's porcelain face cracked, revealing an abyss of darkness within. Finally, with a burst of supernatural energy, Isabella was expelled from Emily's body and thrown across the room. The doll lay motionless on the floor, no longer possessed, but the darkness within had taken its toll on Emily. Though the doll was now powerless, the malevolent force that had been unleashed left its mark on Emily's psyche. She was never the same after that night, forever haunted by the memories of her possession. As for Isabella, the cursed doll was sealed away in a vault deep within the town's archives, forever guarded to prevent her malevolence from wreaking havoc once more. The legend of the possessed doll became a cautionary tale, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks in the shadows and the dangers of toying with the supernatural. In the heart of the town, concealed amid a dense forest, stood an ancient and decrepit mansion known as Hollowbrook House. Its sinister reputation had haunted the minds of the townsfolk for generations, as it was believed to be the dwelling of a malevolent spirit, the harbinger of Hollowbrook. The legend spoke of a once respected aristocrat named Lord Archibald Hollowbrook, who lived in the house centuries ago. He was a cruel and merciless man who ruled over the town with an iron fist, inflicting suffering upon the innocent at his whims. One fateful night, driven by his dark desires for power and immortality, Lord Hollowbrook made a terrible pact with the shadows, sacrificing the souls of the townspeople to an otherworldly entity. As the legend goes, the harbinger of Hollowbrook emerged from the depths of darkness, his body a grotesque amalgamation of shadows and despair. The cursed entity took pleasure in tormenting the souls of the innocent, driving them to madness and despair. Those unfortunate enough to encounter the Harbinger were haunted by his malevolent presence, their minds twisted by fear until they became mere vessels for the darkness that consumed them. Over the years, Hollowbrook House fell into ruin, its walls cloaked in an eerie mist that seemed to seep from the very soul of the earth. The twisted, gnarled trees surrounding the mansion stood like silent sentinels, their branches clawing at the night sky as if seeking escape from the cursed grounds they grew upon. One moonless night, a group of daring teenagers gathered around a bonfire, sharing spine-chilling tales of terror. The eerie glow from Hollowbrook House loomed in the distance, captivating and haunting them all. Amid the group was Aiden, a bold and adventurous soul who never shied away from a challenge. As the stories of the mansion's haunting unfolded, Aiden's curiosity piqued, and he decided to put the legend to the test. With a determined glint in his eyes, Aiden accepted the challenge, vowing to spend the night within the haunted walls of Hollowbrook House. Armed with only a flashlight, he stepped over the threshold, feeling an icy shiver crawl down his spine as he crossed the boundary between the living and the dead. The creaking of the door closing behind him sent a chill down his back, and the oppressive silence within the mansion was deafening. As Aiden explored the decaying rooms, strange whispers echoed through the corridors, filling him with a sense of unease. Ancient symbols adorned the walls, their meanings lost to time. Every creak and groan of the old house felt like the watchful gaze of unseen eyes. As the hours ticked by, Aiden's confidence began to waver, and a creeping sense of dread washed over him. Suddenly, his flashlight flickered, casting the rooms into darkness. Panic gripped his heart as he fumbled for fresh batteries, but his efforts were in vain. The presence of the Harbinger seemed to grow stronger with every passing moment. In the depths of the mansion, a chilling moan resonated through the walls, and the shadows danced wildly on the floor. Fear constricted Aiden's throat as he struggled to find an exit. The mansion seemed to shift and twist, its walls closing in on him like a sinister trap. Just as terror reached its peak, the front door swung open, revealing the pale moonlight that poured into the hallway. Aiden rushed outside, gasping for air, his heart pounding in his chest. Behind him, the mansion exhaled a mournful sigh, its hunger for souls unsated. The legend of the Harbinger of Hollowbrook lived on, retold by those who dared to venture near the haunted mansion. To this day, the eerie glow of the decaying Hollowbrook House can be seen on moonless nights, a reminder of the malevolent spirit that lurks within, forever waiting to claim the souls of the unwary. So beware. Would you ever find yourself in the vicinity of Hollowbrook House? For the Harbinger might be waiting, ready to cast you into an eternal abyss of darkness and despair. In the dense, ominous forests of the Pacific Northwest, a chilling legend haunts the minds of locals and visitors alike, the elusive creature known as Bigfoot. For generations, eerie tales have circulated, warning people of the terrifying encounters that await those who dare to wander too deep into the wilderness. One stormy evening, a group of adventurous friends decided to embark on a weekend camping trip in the heart of the forest. As darkness fell, they gathered around their crackling campfire, exchanging spine-tingling stories about the fabled beast. Some dismissed the legends as mere folklore, while others couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, their fears amplified by the eerie silence surrounding them. Unbeknownst to them, a malevolent force lurked in the shadows, drawn by the scent of human presence and curiosity. This Bigfoot, different from the curious and gentle tales some had heard, had grown resentful of humanity, viewing them as invaders encroaching upon its sacred territory. As the night wore on, the once jovial atmosphere began to shift. Strange noises echoed through the trees, far beyond the reach of the fire's light. Branches snapped, and the ground trembled beneath them, sending shivers down their spines. Nervous laughter disguised the group's escalating fear, but the unease was palpable. The bravest among them decided to venture into the dark woods to dispel the irrational fears that had gripped the group. Armed with flashlights and bolstered by a false sense of courage, they set out into the blackness, convinced they would find nothing more than shadows and rustling animals. As they pressed on, the forest seemed to grow eerier with every step. Their flashlights caught glimpses of large, hairy figures darting through the trees, but every time they focused their beams, there was nothing there, only darkness and silence. The feeling of being watched grew stronger, and it was clear they were not alone. Suddenly, a blood-curdling howl pierced the night, sending the group into a panic. They sprinted back towards their camp, their hearts pounding, convinced they were being pursued by an otherworldly entity. Their campfire, once warm and inviting, now seemed feeble against the darkness that surrounded them. As they stumbled into the camp, they realized that one of their friends was missing. Panic turned into horror as they heard distant screams coming from deeper within the forest. Without a moment's hesitation, they armed themselves with whatever makeshift weapons they could find and charged into the blackness. They followed the desperate cries, fear gnawing at their sanity. The forest seemed to close in around them, the trees twisting menacingly, and the very earth beneath their feet felt like quicksand. The oppressive darkness felt suffocating, and they could hardly see beyond the narrow beam of their flashlights. Finally, they found their friend, shaken and terrified, but miraculously unharmed. He recounted a chilling tale of coming face to face with a monstrous creature, its eyes glowing like burning embers, and its breath reeking of decay. The encounter left him paralyzed with fear, trapped in the grip of the creature's malevolent gaze until it lost interest and vanished into the night. Terrified and desperate to escape, the group retreated back to their camp. They huddled together around the dying fire, barricading themselves in a futile attempt to ward off the lurking terror. But as the night dragged on, the forest became an orchestra of eerie sounds, and the encroaching sense of doom was inescapable. When the first rays of sunlight finally broke through the trees, the group gathered their belongings and fled the cursed forest. They left behind their fear and disbelief, replaced by a haunting knowledge that the legends of Bigfoot were not mere fairy tales, but harrowing encounters with an ancient, malevolent force that still roamed the depths of the wilderness. From that day on, the once daring adventurers vowed never to return to the forest. The chilling memories of their encounter with Bigfoot haunted their dreams, and they knew that some legends were not meant to be debunked or explored, for they were born of something far darker and more sinister than they could ever comprehend. In the small town of Blackwood, nestled deep within a dense forest, there was an old, abandoned mansion that stood like a shadow among the trees. It was said that this mansion was once the home of a reclusive and eccentric artist named Edward Green, whose strange and unsettling paintings adorned its walls. Legend had it that Edward Green had been fascinated by the supernatural and had made a pact with an otherworldly entity. In exchange for artistic inspiration, he had unwittingly unleashed the terror known as Slender Man upon the town. Years had passed since those dark days, and the townspeople had learned to avoid the mansion and the surrounding woods for fear of encountering the malevolent spirit of Slender Man. But as the days grew shorter and the nights colder, an air of unease settled over Blackwood once more. Late one autumn evening, a group of adventurous teenagers decided to venture into the forbidden forest, seeking a thrill beyond the ordinary. Among them was Sarah, a curious and brave young woman known for her fearlessness. She had heard the stories of Slender Man, but brushed them off as mere tales meant to scare children. As the group delved deeper into the forest, the trees seemed to close in around them, casting eerie silhouettes in the moonlight. Sarah noticed strange symbols carved into the bark of the trees, sending a shiver down her spine. Still, she urged her friends forward, eager to prove her fearlessness. They stumbled upon the old mansion, its crumbling walls looming like a specter of the past. The moonlight illuminated the eerie paintings inside, depicting faceless figures and haunting landscapes. The air felt heavy with an unseen presence, and unease spread among the group. Ignoring the warnings of the others, Sarah felt drawn to a particular painting at the far end of the room. It depicted a tall, faceless figure draped in darkness, surrounded by terrified children. Unsettled, she turned away, only to catch a glimpse of a slender shadow out of the corner of her eye. As they hurried to leave the mansion, Sarah felt a growing sense of dread. The woods seemed to come alive with whispers, and the distant rustling of leaves took on an eerie quality. Panic gripped her heart as she realized that Slender Man was not just a story, but a real and malevolent force. The group quickened their pace, but Slender Man seemed to toy with them, appearing and disappearing in the shadows, always just out of reach. As they stumbled through the darkness, one by one, Sarah's friends vanished, leaving her all alone in the nightmarish woods. Desperate and terrified, Sarah tried to find her way back, but the forest seemed to shift and change around her. Slender Man's presence was everywhere, and his hypnotic influence clouded her thoughts. Suddenly, a chilling realization struck her. Edward Green's pact with Slender Man had never been broken. The malevolent entity had been waiting for another soul to claim, and now Sarah was its chosen victim. With every step, Slender Man drew closer, his elongated limbs stretching toward her. She could feel his dark presence enveloping her, draining her strength and will. But as Sarah's fear reached its peak, she mustered the last ounce of her courage. In a desperate attempt to break free from Slender Man's grasp, she turned and faced him directly. In a defiant act of bravery, she reached into her bag and pulled out a small silver pocket watch, an heirloom from her grandmother. With trembling hands, she opened the watch, revealing a flickering flame trapped within its polished surface. Sarah knew that this flame represented the strength of her ancestors, a force that had battled darkness throughout generations. As she held the pocket watch aloft, the flame grew brighter, illuminating the night. Slender Man recoiled, his form dissolving into the shadows, weakened by the ancient power he had underestimated. Sarah ran, clutching the pocket watch tightly, the flame protecting her from Slender Man's grasp. With each step, she felt her determination grow stronger, and the woods, once treacherous, began to show her a way out. By the time she emerged from the forest, the first light of dawn was painting the sky in soft hues. Sarah vowed never to forget the horrors she had faced that night, but she also knew that her bravery and her ancestors' legacy had saved her. From that day forward, she became the guardian of the pocket watch, ensuring it would be passed down through her family. For Slender Man may be a force of darkness, but there was still light and courage in the hearts of those who refused to be consumed by fear. Yet, even as the years passed, the legend of Slender Man endured, a reminder to all who heard it that the line between myth and reality was thinner than one might think. And should you ever find yourself walking through the dark woods at night, beware the shadows, for the faceless entity known as Slender Man might be lurking just out of sight, waiting to ensnare the unwary. The urban legend of Bloody Mary is a popular folklore tale that has been passed down through generations. It revolves around a ghostly and often vengeful female spirit named Bloody Mary, who is said to appear when summoned under specific conditions. The legend has many variations, but its core elements remain consistent. The most common version of the Bloody Mary legend involves a ritual performed in front of a mirror in a darkened room, typically at midnight or during the witching hour. The ritual typically requires the following steps. Go into a dark room, usually a bathroom, with a mirror. Some versions suggest using a candle or flashlight to dimly light the room. Stand in front of the mirror and repeat the phrase Bloody Mary a certain number of times, usually either 3 or 13. In some versions, the name is repeated as many times as the person dares to say it. After repeating the name, one might say additional phrases or invoke the spirit by saying something like "I believe in you" or "come and show yourself." Supposedly, if the ritual is performed correctly and the spirit is invoked, Bloody Mary will appear in the mirror. She might appear as a ghostly figure, a disfigured or bloody face, or something more malevolent. Some variations of the legend suggest that Bloody Mary may harm or curse the person who summoned her, either physically or mentally. The origins of the Bloody Mary legend are unclear, and there is no definitive evidence to support the existence of a vengeful spirit by that name. However, the tale likely evolved from a mix of historical figures, superstitions, and other folklore. Some believe that the legend may have been inspired by Queen Mary I of England, also known as Bloody Mary, due to her persecution of Protestants during her reign in the 16th century. The Bloody Mary legend has become a popular part of modern culture, especially during Halloween or at sleepovers, where young people dare each other to perform the ritual. Movies, books, and television shows have also contributed to its spread in popularity. It's important to remember that the Bloody Mary legend is just a spooky story, and there is no credible evidence to support the existence of a supernatural entity summoned through a mirror. Nonetheless, the tale continues to captivate the imaginations of those who enjoy a good scare. The legend of the Mothman is a fascinating urban legend that originated in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, USA during the late 1960s. It revolves around a mysterious creature that is described as a large humanoid figure with moth-like wings. The Mothman is said to have red, glowing eyes and a wingspan of up to 10 feet. The legend began on November 12, 1966, when two couples were driving near an abandoned World War II munitions plant, known as the TNT area. They reported seeing a large creature with glowing red eyes that followed their car and flew alongside it. This initial sighting was widely reported in local newspapers, capturing the public's attention and sparking numerous other reports of similar sightings in the area. As the sightings continued, witnesses claimed to have seen the Mothman near the Point Pleasant Silver Bridge, which spanned the Ohio River. Tragically, on December 15, 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed. resulting in the deaths of 46 people. This tragedy further added to the mystery and fear surrounding the Mothman, as some believed the creature's appearance was a harbinger of the disaster. The legend of the Mothman became more widely known after the publication of the 1975 book The Mothman Prophecies by John Keel, which also inspired a 2002 film of the same name. The book delves into the sightings, accounts of supernatural experiences, and conspiracy theories surrounding the Mothman and the events in Point Pleasant. Numerous theories attempt to explain the Mothman's sightings, ranging from a misidentification of known animals like owls or herons to paranormal or extraterrestrial explanations. Skeptics argue that the sightings were merely the result of mass hysteria or a combination of natural events and human imagination. Regardless of the explanations, the legend of the Mothman has become an enduring part of American folklore, and Point Pleasant has embraced its connection to the creature. The town holds an annual Mothman festival to celebrate the legend and attracts tourists and enthusiasts from around the world. The urban legend of the Black-Eyed Children is a spooky and mysterious tale that has circulated on the internet and in various forms of storytelling since the late 20th century. It revolves around encounters with eerie children who have completely black eyes and are said to be of an otherworldly or paranormal nature. The legend typically describes an unsettling encounter where unsuspecting individuals, often alone in their homes or in isolated locations, are approached by one or more children who appear to be around 6 to 16 years old. These children may be wearing outdated or strange clothing and may exhibit peculiar behavior, such as making a sudden appearance or disappearance and speaking in a monotone or unusual manner. The key element that sets these children apart and fuels the legend's fear factor is their solid black eyes with no discernible irises or whites. Witnesses often describe feeling a sense of overwhelming dread or unease when in the presence of these beings. The encounters with black-eyed children usually follow a similar pattern. The children approach the potential victim and request help, such as asking to be invited inside their home or vehicle. They may claim to be lost, cold, or in need of assistance. However, those who have experienced these encounters report an unshakable feeling of dread and an intense urge to deny the children's requests, even though they might feel a strong desire to comply. Some versions of the legend suggest that these children may be malevolent or have sinister intentions. It is said that those who do invite the black-eyed children inside or engage with them further may face dire consequences, though specific details of these consequences vary widely. The origin of the black-eyed children legend is not entirely clear, as it lacks a specific documented source or historical event. However, it is believed to have emerged in the 1990s through internet forums and early online communities dedicated paranormal and supernatural discussions. Like many urban legends, the Black-Eyed Children story has been embellished, adapted, and retold numerous times, contributing to its widespread dissemination and persistence in modern popular culture. Whether one believes in the existence of these mysterious beings or considers them purely as a product of folklore and imagination, the legend continues to capture the fascination of those intrigued by the macabre and the unexplained. The urban legend of Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, is a widespread and enduring myth that has captivated the imagination of people around the world, particularly in North America. Bigfoot is described as a large, ape-like creature that is said to inhabit remote, forested regions, mainly in the Pacific Northwest of the United States and Canada. The legend of Bigfoot has been perpetuated through numerous eyewitness accounts, alleged sightings, footprint discoveries, and blurry photographs or videos claiming to capture the elusive creature. Key elements of the Bigfoot legend include appearance. Bigfoot is typically depicted as a towering bipedal creature, standing between 7 and 10 feet tall and weighing several hundred pounds. It is said to have dark, shaggy hair covering most of its body, with a human-like face and enormous, hairy feet. Elusiveness. One of the most significant aspects of the Bigfoot legend is its purported elusiveness. Believers claim that the creature is extremely adept at avoiding human contact and has managed to evade capture or definitive scientific proof of its existence. Indigenous folklore, the concept of a large, wild, ape-like creature, has deep roots in the folklore and oral traditions of various indigenous North American tribes. The legends often describe such beings as protectors of the wilderness, sometimes possessing supernatural qualities. Footprints and evidence. Over the years, there have been numerous reports of large, mysterious footprints found in remote areas that some people attribute to Bigfoot. However, many of these footprints have been debunked as hoaxes or misidentifications of known animal tracks. Pop culture and media. The popularity of Bigfoot has been fueled by various media representations, including movies, documentaries, TV shows, and books. The creature has become an iconic figure in cryptozoology, a field of study that deals with the search for creatures whose existence has not been scientifically proven. Skepticism and debunking. Despite the enduring belief in Bigfoot, many skeptics argue that the evidence presented for its existence is inconclusive, and that the phenomenon is likely a combination of misinterpretations, hoaxes, and a willingness to believe in the unknown. Cryptozoology. Bigfoot is one of the most famous subjects in the realm of cryptozoology, which is the study of hidden or undiscovered animals, often based on anecdotal evidence and folklore rather than scientific methodology. Regardless of whether people believe in the existence of Bigfoot, the legend continues to persist, capturing the fascination of those who are drawn to mysteries and the unknown in the vast wilderness areas of North America. As with many urban legends, the allure of Bigfoot lies in the potential for adventure, discovery, and the thrill of encountering something that defies scientific explanation. The urban legend of the Loch Ness Monster, also known as Nessie, is one of the most famous and enduring myths in the world. It centers around a mysterious creature said to inhabit Loch Ness, a large, deep freshwater lake in the Scottish Highlands. The legend dates back centuries, with some early reports of unusual sightings in the area. However, it wasn't until the 20th century that the myth gained widespread attention and became a cultural phenomenon. The modern era of Nessie sightings began on May 2, 1933, when a Scottish couple, Mr. and Mrs. John Mackay, reported seeing an enormous animal rolling and plunging on the surface of Loch Ness. Subsequently, other witnesses came forward, describing similar encounters with a large, unknown creature swimming in the lake. The media picked up on these accounts, and interest in the Loch Ness Monster grew exponentially. Photographs and films purporting to show the creature started to surface, most notably the surgeon's photograph taken by Robert Kenneth Wilson in 1934, which depicted what appeared to be a long-necked creature emerging from the water. This photograph, considered the most famous Nessie picture, fueled public fascination, and cemented the legend in popular culture. Over the years, numerous expeditions, studies, and sonar scans have been conducted in an attempt to find evidence of the creature's existence. However, despite many claimed sightings and some ambiguous pieces of evidence, no definitive proof of the Loch Ness Monster has been found. Skeptics argue that the sightings and photographic evidence can often be attributed to misidentifications, hoaxes, floating debris, or other natural phenomena. The myth of the Loch Ness Monster has become a significant tourist attraction for Scotland, drawing thousands of visitors each year who hope to catch a glimpse of the elusive creature. It has also inspired various books, movies, and documentaries, further perpetuating its place in popular culture. While the scientific community remains skeptical about the existence of a large, unknown creature in Loch Ness, the legend of Nessie continues to capture the imagination and curiosity of people around the world. Whether the Loch Ness Monster is real or not, its legacy as one of the most enduring and captivating urban legends endures to this day. The chupacabra is a mythical creature that is the subject of an urban legend primarily prevalent in Latin American countries, particularly Puerto Rico, Mexico, and the southwestern United States. The term chupacabra is Spanish, with chupa meaning suck and cabra meaning goat, which directly translates to goat sucker. The legend of the chupacabra originated in the 1990s, and it quickly spread through word of mouth, media, and the internet, gaining popularity as a mysterious and fearsome creature. The creature is described as a strange, hairless, and reptilian-like beast with large red or glowing eyes, sharp fangs, and spikes on its back. It is said to be roughly the size of a small bear or large dog. The chupacabra's name is derived from its alleged behavior of attacking livestock, particularly goats and chickens, by sucking their blood. In many cases, the animals are found dead with puncture marks on their necks and drained of their blood, leading to the belief that the chupacabra is responsible for these mysterious killings. Various eyewitness accounts of the chupacabra describe it as a nocturnal predator that moves swiftly and elusively, making it difficult to capture or observe. As the legend spread, some individuals claimed to have captured or killed the creature, but definitive evidence of its existence has never been presented. The origin of the chupacabra legend can be traced back to a combination of factors, including folklore, media sensationalism, and public paranoia. In the 1990s, reports of livestock killings with similar characteristics, such as blood-drained animals, became widespread in Puerto Rico and later in other countries. The media coverage and rumors about a mysterious creature fueled the urban legend, leading to various sensationalized stories and theories about its nature and origin. While many skeptics dismiss the chupacabra as a hoax or misidentification of existing animals like coyotes, dogs, or other wildlife, the legend continues to persist in popular culture, and occasional reports of chupacabra sightings or attacks on livestock still surface from time to time. In essence, the chupacabra urban legend reflects the enduring human fascination with mythical creatures and the mysteries that surround them. Despite lacking scientific evidence, the legend continues to capture the imaginations of people worldwide. The Jersey Devil is a legendary creature that has been a part of New Jersey folklore for over 2 centuries. The legend of the Jersey Devil is said to have originated in the Pine Barrens region of southern New Jersey, a vast and isolated wilderness area known for its dense forests and eerie atmosphere. The story of the Jersey Devil dates back to the early 18th century and has undergone several variations over the years, making it difficult to pinpoint a single definitive version of the tale. However, the most common version of the legend goes something like this. According to the legend, there was a woman named Mother Leeds who lived in the Pine Barrens during the 18th century. She was already mother to 12 children, and upon discovering she was pregnant with her 13th, she cried out in frustration that this child would be better off as a devil. Some versions suggest she made this exclamation in a fit of anger, while others claim she was involved in witchcraft or some other dark practices. When the child was born, it was indeed different from any ordinary baby. The child quickly transformed into a monstrous creature with bat-like wings, hooves, and a forked tail. Its head resembled that of a horse or goat, and it emitted terrifying, otherworldly cries. This creature, known as the Jersey Devil, is said to have fled into the night, where it has roamed the Pine Barrens ever since, terrorizing local communities and leaving a trail of fear and destruction in its wake. Over the years, there have been numerous sightings and reports of strange occurrences attributed to the Jersey Devil. These sightings often coincide with mysterious animal mutilations, strange tracks, and eerie sounds echoing through the wilderness. The legend has become ingrained in New Jersey culture and has inspired countless books, movies, and other forms of media. Despite the widespread tales and supposed sightings, there is no concrete evidence to support the existence of the Jersey Devil. Most accounts are likely exaggerations, hoaxes, or misidentifications of other animals. Nevertheless, the legend endures as a fascinating part of New Jersey's folklore, capturing the imaginations of locals and tourists alike. The Pine Barrens remain a place of intrigue and mystery, adding to the allure of the Jersey Devil legend. The urban legend of the clown statue is a chilling tale that has circulated for decades, causing fear and unease among those who hear it. While there are various versions of the story, the core narrative remains relatively consistent. Please note that as an urban legend, the following history is based on the evolution of the story as it spread through oral tradition and online sources, and there is no verifiable historical origin for the legend. The story typically begins with a young couple or a family who move into a new home or an old house with a mysterious past. As they settle in, they discover a creepy-looking clown statue that stands prominently in one of the rooms. The statue is often described as lifelike and unsettling, with a sinister grin on its face. Initially, the family members may find the clown statue disturbing, but they try to ignore it, believing it's merely a part of the house's eccentric decor or a harmless oddity left behind by the previous owners. However, as the days go by, strange things begin to happen. Objects go missing or move inexplicably, and eerie sounds are heard during the night. As the tension builds, the family may decide to investigate further. One version of the story involves the parents calling a friend or an expert to come over and inspect the clown statue, hoping to find some explanation for the unsettling occurrences. In some variations, the friend or expert, after careful examination, reveals the disturbing truth. The clown statue is not a statue at all, but a real person, a malevolent intruder who has been living in the house, secretly observing the family. Alternatively, in some versions, it is the children who discover the truth. They might have had unsettling encounters with the clown, or witnessed it moving when they thought nobody was around. Eventually, the children bravely investigate and unveil the horrifying reality. The story often ends with the family confronting the intruder, leading to a chilling and dangerous confrontation. Sometimes, they manage to escape unharmed, while in other versions, a tragic and terrifying fate befalls one or more family members. Like many urban legends, the clown statue tale has likely evolved and adapted over time, as it was passed on through various mediums such as word of mouth, written accounts, and, later, internet forums and social media. The fear of creepy clowns and the uncanny valley effect, where humanoid objects appear almost but not entirely human, likely played a role in the story's resonance and continued popularity. The clown statue story is just one of many urban legends that continue to capture people's imaginations and be shared as cautionary tales of the unknown and the eerie. The urban legend of the Licked Hand is a chilling tale that has been passed down through generations, warning people of the dangers lurking in the dark. The legend has several variations, but the core story remains the same. In a small town, much like any other, there lived a young woman named Sarah. She lived alone with her loyal dog, Max, in a quaint little house on the outskirts of town. Max was a large and protective German shepherd who would faithfully stay by Sarah's side day and night. One stormy night, Sarah heard about a dangerous convict who had escaped from the nearby prison. Fearful for her safety, she decided to lock all the doors and windows before going to bed, feeling somewhat reassured by Max's presence. As the night wore on, Sarah heard strange noises coming from downstairs. Frightened, she reached her hand down from her bed to the floor, hoping Max would lick her hand, reassuring her that everything was fine. The familiar, comforting sensation of Max's warm, wet tongue on her hand would always calm her nerve. After a few moments, she felt the gentle licking and felt relieved, believing that Max was still there and protecting her. The next morning, when Sarah woke up, she found Max's lifeless body hanging from the ceiling fan. Terrified and heartbroken, she screamed and called the police. The police investigated the scene and discovered a chilling message scrawled on the bathroom mirror in what appeared to be Max's blood. Humans can lick too. Ah! The origins of the Licked Hand legend are somewhat unclear, as urban legends tend to evolve and spread through oral storytelling, making it difficult to pinpoint a specific origin. However, the story bears similarities to other urban legends and horror tales involving the hook-handed killer and the call coming from inside the house scenarios. The legend is a cautionary tale that preys on our natural fears of the unknown, the dark, and the potential threats that may be lurking in the shadows. The legend of the ghostly hitchhiker is a classic urban tale that has been passed down through generations, with numerous variations and retellings. While there are several versions of this legend, a common thread revolves around a mysterious hitchhiker who appears to unsuspecting drivers on lonely roads or highways, only to vanish without a trace before reaching their destination. The origins of the ghostly hitchhiker legend are difficult to trace definitively, as it has taken on different forms in various cultures around the world. However, one of the earliest known versions can be traced back to the early 20th century in the United States. One of the most well-known versions of the ghostly hitchhiker story involves a young woman. The tale goes like this. In the 1930s, during the Great Depression, A young woman was waiting for her lover to return home from a long journey. They had planned to elope and start a new life together. However, he never arrived, and the woman grew increasingly anxious as the hours passed. Desperate to find him, she decided to go out and search for him. She stood on the side of a desolate road, hoping to hitch a ride from a passing car to cover more ground. Eventually, a sympathetic driver stopped to offer her a lift. The woman got into the car and provided directions to her lover's destination. As they drove along, she appeared distressed, and the driver tried to comfort her, promising to do everything in his power to help her find her love. Upon reaching the location she had specified, the driver turned to the woman to see if she was okay, only to find that she had vanished from the back seat. Puzzled and frightened, the driver made inquiries about the woman in the area and discovered that she was no longer among the living. Her spirit was said to have been hitchhiking along the road, eternally searching for her lost love. As the story of the ghostly hitchhiker spread, different variations emerged, involving male hitchhikers or those who had died tragically on the road. In some versions, the hitchhiker leaves a personal item behind, which the driver returns to the grieving family, confirming the otherworldly encounter. The legend of the ghostly hitchhiker has been adapted and retold countless times, becoming part of modern folklore. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, this chilling urban legend continues to captivate the imaginations of people around the world. In the quaint town of Blackwood, nestled deep within the heart of a dense forest, there exists a chilling urban legend known as the Devil's Footprints. The tale dates back to a cold winter's night in the late 1800s, a time when the town was shrouded in mystery and superstition. It is said that during this fateful winter, a bizarre and eerie phenomenon occurred that left the townsfolk both bewildered and terrified. The legend began on an ordinary evening when Blackwood was hit by an unexpected snowstorm of unparalleled intensity. The townspeople huddled together in their homes, seeking warmth and security from the relentless wintry winds. However, the following morning, as the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds, the townsfolk discovered something baffling and horrifying, a series of mysterious footprints covering the entire town. The footprints were unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. They resembled cloven hooves, each measuring about 3 inches in diameter. The tracks were perfectly aligned, stretching across rooftops, scaling walls, and crossing over fences and rivers. Strangely, they appeared without any beginning or end, as if they had materialized out of thin air and vanished just as mysteriously. News of the bizarre footprints spread like wildfire through Blackwood and beyond. Fear and panic gripped the townspeople, and wild speculations about their origin began to circulate. Some believed it was the work of the devil himself prowling through the night. Others thought it might be the mark of a dark and ancient entity seeking to claim souls or fulfill a sinister prophecy. As the days passed, the footprints continued to appear after each fresh snowfall. No amount of snow or attempts to trace their origins seemed to deter their existence. The town's priest proclaimed it as a sign of the impending apocalypse, and many began to lose hope, convinced that evil had set its eyes on their once peaceful town. As time went on, various theories were put forward, ranging from natural phenomena to extraterrestrial intervention. Despite numerous attempts to track down the source of the footprints, no one ever witnessed their creation, leaving the mystery unsolved. The legend of the Devil's Footprints persisted over the years, etching itself into Blackwood's history and becoming a cautionary tale for generations to come. To this day, the townspeople claim that on certain winter nights, when the snow falls heavily, the cloven footprints return, serving as a chilling reminder of the inexplicable and the unknown that lurks in the shadows of the world. Though science and skepticism may offer rational explanations, the legend continues to endure, capturing the imagination of those who hear it, leaving them to ponder the ancient question: is there something malevolent lurking in the darkness, or is it merely the stuff of folklore and fear? The elevator game, also known as the elevator to another world, is an urban legend that revolves around a paranormal ritual believed to transport participants to another dimension or alternate reality. It has gained popularity on the internet, particularly on forums and websites. The game allegedly allows a person to access a different realm by following specific steps while riding an elevator in a multi-story building. The rules for the game vary slightly in different versions, but the general steps are as follows. Find a building with at least 10 floors, including a working elevator. Enter the elevator alone on the first floor. Press the buttons in a specific sequence: 4, 2, 6, 2, 10, 5. In some versions, you may need to press additional buttons, like 1, 2, or 3. When you reach the 5th floor, a mysterious woman might enter the elevator. Do not look at her or speak to her. Press the button for the first floor again. If the elevator starts ascending to the 10th floor instead, you have successfully entered the other world. Once you've reached the 10th floor, you can choose to explore the other dimension, but you must return to the first floor within a specific time frame. Failure to do so might lead to unwanted consequences. The origins of the elevator game are somewhat unclear, and it's challenging to pinpoint a specific source. The game gained traction on internet forums and social media, where people began sharing their alleged experiences and interpretations of the ritual. It is often presented as a cautionary tale, warning people not to attempt the ritual due to potential dangers associated with crossing into another realm. In conclusion, the elevator game is a modern-day internet urban legend that has captivated the imagination of those interested in spooky stories and paranormal phenomena. Thank you for watching. Subscribe so you don't miss future content on the dark and mysterious. Until next time, stay curious